Dolphins training camp news, notes, takeaways, etc. coming at you guys. Going with a positive one. Terron Armstead off of the physically unable to perform list following his off-season knee scope. Not a huge surprise. Expectation was he'd be back pretty quickly. Pads just came on. Now Armstead is back, even though it will be a slower ramp-up process since this is, I believe, Camp 11 in Armstead's career. Not like he desperately needs the reps. But if you are glad to have the Dolphins starting left tackle back, show me you are by liking today's video. In theory, every single person watching should like it, so do it for me right now. While Armstead was out, it did allow Kendall Lamb to flash a decent amount as a swing tackle option for the Miami Dolphins. As good as Lamb was at least per media reports, it's just not the same caliber of player as Terron Armstead when healthy. So good for Lamb to impress, but this is Armstead's job, of course. Let's move to cornerback now, as I've been fairly impressed with what we've seen so far out of Cam Smith. He's been getting more work thanks to Jalen Ramsey being out until December-ish, give or take, somewhere in that time frame following his knee surgery. Smith has made multiple plays on the football, breaking up a bunch of passes. Could a couple of those have been INTs? Sure. Is that necessarily worth freaking out over? No, not really, especially remember how good and fast this Dolphins offense is. Still plenty of room to grow, get better, etc., but a really good start for Cam Smith. After a bit of a maybe up and down start early on, seems to have settled in so far in camp. His numbers last year were pretty solid for South Carolina, and you can even make the argument that he was better in 2022. But the hope and expectation here is that Cam Smith can play a big role for the Dolphins, which originally was supposed to be maybe more of a luxury pick. Now it's more of a needy pick in the end. Jalen Ramsey going to miss several months here. Xavier Howard is now back at the cornerback one spot. That's fine. Kader Kohou can play inside, outside, but Nick Needham's banged up right now. And although mostly positive things in terms of Noah Ibignogany's performance so far, you still are hoping Cam Smith becomes that guy. It'd be great if the first rounder could live up to the hype from a few years ago for Noah, but it's all about Cam Smith right now. Now, we'll count this as 3 corners is how we'll define the starting role. We'll count inside at nickel and then the 2 outside guys. For week 1, will Cam Smith start then at corner? Y for yes, N for no. Get those predictions in at the pinned comments of today's video. So if the ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and go vote. Let's talk Dalvin Cook. I know, but the GM and ESPN both talked about it today or yesterday in the past 24 hours, so worth going into here. Dolphins GM Chris Grier spoke about it, and then ESPN's Jeremy Fowler and I forget the other writer who was on the piece for the ESPN Insider piece discussed Dalvin Cook. Here's what they wrote, then Chris Grier's thoughts. After asking around on running back Dalvin Cook's free agency, ESPN writes, the sense is Miami would love to have him, but considers him a luxury too. That has complicated the pursuit a bit. The Dolphins are interested in doing a deal, but their patience suggests they aren't eager to enter a bidding war. Let's see if the Jets' heavy interest moves them to counter. Now, Chris Grier, Dolphins GM, had this to say. Dalvin is a tremendous athlete and a football player and has been a productive player in this league. That's why everyone is looking at him. People would love to have him. When it works out with us or anyone, we're just very happy with the group we have, and we're moving forward with that group. I think at some level, maybe a bidding war isn't the right term for it, but a negotiation war has been going on through the media as it relates to Dalvin Cook and other NFL teams. It's very clear to me Dalvin Cook wants more money, probably a lot more money than what he's been offered so far. And for me, as we are now in August officially, the Dalvin Cook saga is getting a little bit old. Cook's made public statements of how great it would be to go home to Miami, and I have no ill will for him trying to get as most money as possible in what could be his last year at a decent-sized contract, given his age and the running back market and all that good stuff. But Cook is also, I believe, a declining player. Not saying he's bad, but the regression is visible. Fewer yards per carry. Not the same player he was in a really all-pro caliber season back in 2020. Would I like him in Miami? Sure. $3, $4, $5, maybe even $6 million, I'm fine with that. Incentives included on top of that works just as good for me. If he's trying to get what he lost from the Vikings, I have a tough time seeing that one going down for Cook and the Dolphins. The Jets remain the betting favorite at this stage. Was once Miami, then New England, now New York. Maybe no one knows where he'll end up. Where do you think Dalvin Cook will sign? Get those predictions in for me in the comment section. All right, back on the field now for camp. The front seven will include kind of more of that 3-4 base look here for Miami. Led by Christian Wilkins, has been very impressive. Wilkins has been a dynamic disruptor in the passing game, which hasn't always been statistically what he's done, but he looks like a fantastic piece. And the Dolphins' defense overall, I think, is primed to be significantly better, low bar to clear, than what we saw last year out of Miami. When you use that 3-4 front, or you want to rotate out one of those defense linemen, or rotate in Emmanuel Ogbah, you've got a very dangerous grouping. Jalen Phillips, I am convinced, is going to have a massive breakout year, become a consensus, top 10 pass rusher, one of the best young players in the NFL at the position. Wilkins has had stupid tackle numbers, and I think the sack numbers will go up as well. Raekwon Davis has shown some flash. Zach Sealer is a good player. Bradley Chubb could be even better. There's also Emmanuel Ogbah. I'm excited about this Dolphins front and what it can do for the linebacking core, the off-ball linebackers. More on that here in a little bit. But the Dolphins sideline hats are out. The official hats you'll see players wearing on the sidelines throughout the season this year are available at chatsports.com/Dolphins sideline. We'll put that link in the comment section and the description so it's clickable, easy for you. A couple different styles, variety, color schemes, etc. If you want the gear the players are going to wear this year, go check it out. Chatsports.com/Dolphins sideline. Again, links in the comment section and the description of today's show. Thought David Long, particularly on day one of the pads going on, had a really good performance. And I think Long's play style, his overall body of work, makes him a really good fit for what Vic Fangio is going to do on defense. In Tennessee, his role was very much a light box role and still to be a premier run stopper. That's how impactful David Long was at maybe linebackers are less impactful in the modern day NFL relative to other position groups like edge rusher, interior pass rusher. But the Titans were able to go with so many light boxes, because of guys like Jeffrey Simmons, but also David Long. I am really excited about his fit in the Miami Dolphins defense. I think he's a really great fit under Vic Fangio. I think he's going to thrive. I think we'll look back then this year and go, wow, that's all Miami had to pay David Long. Other teams will go, why didn't we do that? He only played 12 games last year. I know. But he put up great numbers. PBUs, interceptions, tackles, TFLs. I think David Long is one of the more underrated players in the NFL at the off-ball linebacker spot. Jerome Baker might be back as the incumbent, the higher paid guy. I would not be surprised if it's David Long in the end, who maybe not even in a close battle ends up being the top off-ball linebacker, leads the team in various statistical categories this season. So let's talk about the Dolphins defense here some more. Where do you think they will rank among all NFL defenses this year? So 1 to 32. They were not very good last year. They were really good under Brian Flores. Probably somewhere in the middle to a certain extent. Where are you going to rank them this year? Go vote for me in the comments. This entire defense, by the way, has some great talent. I was thinking about this the other day. As long as the quarterback is healthy, which I think is a fair if to throw in there, can't we make an argument the Dolphins are a top 5 talented roster in the NFL? O-line's got some question marks, sure, but the front seven I think is really good for Miami. Even without Jalen Ramsey, the cornerback room is still in pretty good shape. Maybe it's not 1, maybe it's more like 5 or 6 or whatever roster-wise, but I do think this defense, under Vic Fangio, a great defensive mind, is going to really exceed what we saw last year. I know that was maybe a low bar with Boyer, but I think this Dolphins defense, maybe I'm drinking the Kool-Aid and being a crazy person, but I think this Dolphins defense is going to be a top 10 unit this year. Those are my expectations entering this season. That's a massive jump from last year, but I think the coaching staff and the overall talent can get Miami there. Now, we had only 239 new subscribers. That makes me sad. Preseason watch parties are a week and a half away. We're still going to do them. Have some fun. If you haven't already, hit that sub button for more free Dolphins videos. New host coming soon for you guys. I've still got you covered until then. We'll have the preseason watch parties because they're too much fun not to. Hit that sub button right now. One more note before we go. Tip the cap, I should say, to UDFA Chris Brooks. Had the play of the day, busting a 90-yard touchdown run, making some guys miss, making some juke moves. The offense loved it, of course. He is a UDFA out of BYU. Began his career at Cal, if my memory serves me correctly. Had a smaller role for BYU last year, 130 carries, 815 yards, so a good average there, 6 touchdowns. Always nice to see your young guys flash, even if it's probably a practice squad option for Miami. Look, Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson aren't going to play that much, if anything, in the preseason, so you need more bodies in those games. Devon Achane might not play a ton either. Gaskin, Ahmed, those guys are known commodities. Brooks flashed a little bit. That's awesome. Great for him. Maybe he can earn a practice squad spot. Probably will not, however, make the 53-man roster.